Ladies and gentlemen, this here is a sub $300 used gaming PC that you probably can't beat in terms of price to performance. Today I'm going to show you all the parts and deals that I got as well as benchmark some games, but for now, here's some sexy B-roll. Hey, welcome to Zach's Tech Turf. So how much performance can you really expect from a gaming PC here in early 2018 when the prices are ridiculous at just sub $300? I actually far surpassed my expectations with this build, and let's start with the build list and how much I paid for all these parts. Starting with the processor, I decided to roll with this 4-core 4-thread Xeon 3430, which I successfully overclocked to 3.6 GHz, and guess what? This thing only costs $7, and you can get it right now at that price on AliExpress. To pair with the processor, I went with this Asus H55M1156 socket motherboard and paid $64, also off AliExpress. It's a micro ATX form factor and holds 4 slots of memory for future upgrades, but the only problem is that it doesn't have any USB 3.0 ports, which is a bummer. You can actually solve this problem by buying one of these cheapo PCI Express to USB 3.0 slots. I'm pretty sure I pulled this out of the bin for like $1, so it's really not that big of a deal. Next up, the RAM deal I found might just be the MVD or most valuable deal of this entire build, as someone was selling this 8GB DDR3 1066 MHz RAM kit for a measly $20. It was actually hilarious because I bought it off a really old guy and he was so concerned like making sure that I knew how to properly install RAM sticks, and then he told me that it would only work in a Dell computer, and I was like, I got it, don't worry. I got it. Yeah, that guy obviously doesn't watch ZTT. Another potential most valuable deal for this build is the graphics card, which is an EVGA GTX 780 Ti that EVGA was actually selling on their website for just $80 refurbished. I actually found this deal while watching Windows Shop Weekly, so shout out to Danny and Lee, by the way, and within like 20 minutes of us all finding the deal, EVGA completely sold out. Moving on, the power supply is a Seasonic 620 watt bronze certified fully modular unit, and it has all black cables, which I actually bought new off Newegg. The only reason I bought this new was because it was on a killer sale down to $30. The GTX 780 Ti on paper says it requires 600 watts of power, so when I saw this power supply deal, I just had to snag that one up. For storage, I went with an SSD that I actually had laying around the house from a previous $200 build that I did, and that's the AirEye 120GB SSD, which I paid $45 for a few months ago. I also put in a 750GB Western Digital drive that I actually found in a bin for free, but you can find these size drives anywhere around the internet used for just a few dollars, so even if I price this at $15, we will still stay under the $300 total. Housing all of this build is a Xeon 310 micro ATX case, which I did a full video on, which I think is honestly one of the best sub $25 cases that you can always find at this cheap price without a deal. I definitely recommend buying whatever case you personally want. I've seen a lot of really good cases go on sale for the price of this lately, and honestly the 780 Ti like barely fit in this, so it's probably a good idea to get a bigger one. Finally, there's a couple extra parts that I threw in there because they aren't necessary, and you can use whatever you have laying around. The CPU cooler is an Arctic Esports 1 cooler, which I also did a full review on. You can definitely use cheaper coolers unless you want to push the overclock like I did. I also put a Corsair 120mm fan out there purely because it looks cool with that light blue ring, and there's also a white LED fan in the back there, which is definitely just for aesthetics. So yeah, that's the entire parts list. We are well under $300, especially if you get the free version of Windows 10 like I did, just like that trial version. And I hope you guys are still with me because now it's time to benchmark some games. Today I'm not going to do the normal 0.1%, 1%, average, blah 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 blah. I'm just going to show you what settings I picked for each game and about what the rough average FPS is. First up, with Destiny 2, aka one of my current favorite games that I'm addicted to right now, I ran this at 1080p in high settings and I was seeing around 100-ish FPS. You can certainly crank up the settings even higher on this and even push into 1440p if you want. Next up, we tested CSGO, which lately I've actually been trying to get better at. As you can see here, the skills are super super noob and I really want to get better so I stop embarrassing myself on these benchmarking videos. Anyways, here I was running the game in 1080p with high settings and no anti-aliasing, and I was running anywhere from 160 to 240 FPS. Grand Theft Auto 5 was up next, and I haven't included this in a benchmarking video for quite some time, but we all know how much of a CPU intensive game this is, so I wanted to include it just so we could see how much that $7 processor bottlenecks the 780 Ti. In 1080p and high settings with the sliders about halfway up, I was maintaining a silky smooth 60 to 90 FPS. After that, I tested PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds because obviously we cannot skip this one. This one actually surprised me because even at 1080p and high settings, we still got a pretty impressive 80 to 90 FPS. Like I said, that $7 CPU is obviously going to be the bottleneck in most games paired with a monster 780 Ti, but it still hung with it and gave some great results. Finally, the last game I tested was the Assassin's Creed Origins in-game benchmark because like I've said in other benchmarking videos like my top budget graphics cards of 2018 video that I just uploaded, this benchmarking tool is super tough to run and it really pushes your hardware to the limit. In 1080p and high settings we were getting around 50 FPS, but keep in mind that when you're actually playing the game you'll be closer to 60 FPS as it won't be as demanding as the benchmarking tool. So those are all the results. I kinda can't believe just how well this is running games, especially at that cheap of a price and how expensive all these PC parts are right now. But if you're looking to copy this build, I do have a couple suggestions and alternatives before ending this video. First, I definitely only bought this Xeon 3430 so I could play with a $7 processor, and if this build was actually for myself, I would definitely go for either a 3440 or a 3470, which will give you much better results and it'll still fit in our motherboard. Next up, I would definitely try to find some faster RAM sticks. Chances are you're not gonna find as good a deal as I did for 20 bucks of 8 gigabytes of DDR3, but at 1066 MHz, it definitely is kind of slow and there's a lot of room for improvement. Finally, the last alternative I would consider is the case. I absolutely love this Xeon Micro ATX case because it's always under 25 bucks without a sale, but huge parts like the CPU cooler and graphics card made it very tough to build inside and it honestly barely fit. Definitely go with whatever case you can afford and prefer in terms of aesthetics. Well, that wraps up my sub $300 used gaming PC build. If you want to see more gaming PC builds like this, definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel. I actually just uploaded a video about my $2,500 beast behind the camera. That video was awesome. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please drop a like down below to help support my channel. Also down there is a link to the ZTT Discord, which I definitely recommend joining. And as always, thank you for watching. And please subscribe for more Zach's Tech Turf videos.